Hey, good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of Body Talk. Marlene Childers is on leave for the summer, and I'm on my own, and I have a special guest in the studio today, as we will the rest of the summer. And are we okay? Okay. I'm also running a person short behind the scenes, so I've got Pat scurrying between audio and video stations back there, so we're kind of low on help. So we have Katie Moleski in, who is instructor in health and fitness. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Okay. So you teach what kind of classes around here at Rio Grande?
I teach primarily in the sport and exercise studies program, so courses like exercise physiology and biomechanics, motor learning.
Okay. So how the body moves and why it moves that way, and
Sure. It's the bachelor's program is geared towards a sports science emphasis, and then of course we also have physical education majors who take those courses as well.
okay. You also won an award this year.
Yes.
What's that?
I was awarded the Ernie Wyant Outstanding Teaching Award. It's a student-nominated award, so it was really special. It was a really honor to receive an award like that, especially since I haven't been doing this long. So
Right. You have built up your fan base. Yet.
Yes, right.
So I think that's a special award because it is, of all the teachers around, it is voted on by the students.
Yes.
So that's pretty cool. Well, what we're going to talk about today is, I guess, general health and people's lack of activity.
Yes.
Right? You had a student, I think, do a project about how the chair is killing us.
Yes. Yeah. Time spent sitting, how it's becoming a new risk factor for the development of heart disease specifically, but how much time we spent sitting still.
Mm-hmm. And I could be a poster child for that, I think. And the younger people play a lot of video games, and I'm sure that they are right up there on the risk factors.
Yes.
If it doesn't hurt anybody else's feelings, I think our student population has gotten a lot heavier in the past 20 years.
Well, I think that the population as a total, it's not
Right.
just student population,
Sure.
but it's a rising concern from the preschool level all the way up through adulthood, the lack of physical activity. In all aspects of life has decreased significantly, and it's led to a real public health concern, really.
Yeah, like I said, I could be a poster child for that because I've worked in television, and a lot of my life is spent at control boards, editing rooms. A lot of control room situations are like 12-hour shifts.
Yeah.
You can't even leave for lunch.
Yes.
So you're parked in front of a board for 12 hours, and then you're pretty tired after that, and then you don't go exercising. You might catch a meal on the way home and go to bed.
Yes, yeah, it's really common, particularly in an academic environment, which is what prompted the project that I did with Austin about sitting time. It's not uncommon to sit at your desk grading papers for hours upon hours upon hours. You spend a lot of time just sitting still. So I think it takes a real effort to be physically active, but it's an important thing to be aware of, how much time you actually do spend sitting still.
Right. And I know people celebrate people reading. Reading's great and everything, but I think we need to balance everything. Your physical activity and reading. You can't spend your life reading. You'll get heavy.
Right. Well.
Without, unless you have a great diet or something. But I'm not sure if that would really even help with that. If you had a good diet and still didn't have any physical activity,
Well, physical activity reaches far beyond just weight management or weight loss. It's really about cardiovascular health. Higher levels of cardiorespiratory fitness are seen in people who have the highest levels of physical activity on a regular basis, and that's translates into a lower heart disease risk, and that's really what movement and being physically active is most about. And that's regardless of weight. So whether you're normal weight, overweight, or obese, people who have higher levels of physical activity have a lower risk for disease. And that's really the important thing that most people don't understand. It's not necessarily just about losing weight. It's about physical fitness and cardiovascular health.
Yeah, that's one thing that I tell people about, being active in anything, whether it's physically active, mentally active, or whatever. My rule is use it or lose it.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you don't use your mind,
you lose it.
You lose it. If you don't use your muscles, you lose that potential to get up and do things.
Right.
And so if you don't do things, and you stop doing things, and then you can't do things.
Right. It's sort of a negative feedback loop. It feeds on itself. The less active you become, then the less you're able to do, so then the less active you become again. Absolutely.
And then other things I've heard from people when they begin or have tried to do physical activity, they'll say, when I go out and do things like that, I breathe hard. It hurts. The day after I've done the exercise, my arms hurt. I better stop doing that because pain is bad, right?
Well, our motto in our program is start low and go slow, and that less pain really is more gain.
Right.
So it really is when you initiate exercise or decide to become more physically active, you shouldn't go out the first day and do 60 minutes all at once. It really is about starting really slow, 5 minutes at a time, and slowly, gradually over the course of weeks and months, building up to longer duration or greater intensity type of exercise. That's really the best advice for anyone who's been sedentary or physically inactive when you're initiating or starting a new exercise program. So start low and go slow.
Right. I've made that mistake before. I was in the military, and then, maybe after 5 or 10 years out, then it's like, okay, I'm going to go lift. So I started lifting at the same rate that I did.
Yeah.
And then the following day, I couldn't reach my head.
Yes.
My arms are just so locked up that I couldn't do anything.
Yes, that's a really common mistake. Less pain, more gain. Mild discomfort is normal when you're initiating exercise, but
and then don't stop.
Right, regular exercise is key.
When your muscles are aching or a little sore from the previous workout, don't stop until it goes away. Shouldn't you just work it out the next time out?
Again, mild discomfort is sort of your muscle's way of saying thanks for using me. If it's pain, then I would say no, you should rest it.
That's where I couldn't reach my head.
Right. So you probably shouldn't push through pain. That's never really advisable. So you should always listen to your body. So if it hurts, don't do it. But it's about being smarter in the way that you initiate exercise. Most people think that it has to be terrible and it should hurt. But really, for long-term lifestyle modification and participation in physical activity and exercise, it's best really to just less pain, more gain, a little bit each day.
Should I stretch before or after doing things? Or both?
I would say both, maybe. To get improvements in flexibility and range of motion, it's best to stretch after exercise when your muscle temperature is the highest. But if you're just looking to loosen up and warm up muscles, then light stretching before can be beneficial.
To decrease injuries.
It can help to decrease injury as long as you have a light warm up, so low level exercise for 5 to 10 minutes prior to initiating higher levels of exercise, and then you can stretch out after your little warm up. But to get improvements in flexibility, so if you notice a particular muscle that is tight, or a joint that maybe you lack movement in, stretching it after your exercise bout is usually best.
Right. And where we started was how the chair is killing you.
Yes.
Being sedentary and in a seated position. And I've had this problem where the backs of my legs and calves kind of gotten short. Mm-hmm. And then, it's hard to reach your toes, and I don't know if plantar fasciitis, which is a tightening across the bottom of the foot and your calf, mm-hmm. where you want to get on the step and stretch that out.
Yes.
Those are, if your joints are staying this way, then
yes.
these muscles will get shorter.
Yes, they can become tight. So if you spend a lot of time sitting, usually hamstrings, the muscles mm-hmm. in the back of the leg, can get really tight. And then often that can lead to lower back pain. It's kind of a leading cause of low back pain is having tight hamstrings or a lack of flexibility within those muscles. So paying extra attention to them when you're stretching is really important.
And I know back pain, people think that it's the spine and stuff that holds you up, and there's an injury to the spine, and that's why I have a back problem, which I don't think I have a back problem. But anyway, I think the important thing is to strengthen, your waist area and your back muscles, because don't your muscles have as much support, or maybe more support, mm-hmm. than your actual bone structure through your back?
Well, they both play a role in stability, of course. Having proper what we call core strength, so mm-hmm. abdominal strength and back extensor strength, is important for spinal health. It puts us in proper body position. And a lot of people, again, if you don't use it, you lose it, right? And if your posture is poor, it can lead to lower back problems that can be, that go beyond just muscle issues. It can become more of a disc issue or something like that. Right. But a lot of that can be prevented, again, with just proper strength and flexibility within the muscles that act on the lower back and the spine. So the proper strength and endurance within the abdominal muscles, the back extensors, and then proper flexibility within the hamstrings and quads as well. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Now, the thing I know one thing I do that will give me a bad back in like one day is if you went to the two-shot. Okay, here I'm in the chair. If I'm doing something very quick and I want to go to my desk and I think I'm going to sit there for just a minute, and I don't go all the way back to the back of my chair, mm-hmm. and I'm working on the computer, and then I just start like sinking down or just without any support.
Yes.
Then I'm messed up the next day.
Yes.
Or that evening, I'll get up and it's like, okay, I'm done.
Yes. And posture is important. Again, if you spend a lot of time in your chair having a nice chair with proper support mm-hmm. of the back, but again, that also goes back to having the proper core strength. So right. To make sure that we're sitting up nice and tall.
One of my things I like to do is yoga.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And, I ride motorcycle, and that's one thing I like to do with that because, a lot of times you don't have back mm-hmm. support, and so that and flexibility. Like if you were to come off the motorcycle and go tumbling out, I want to be as flexible as possible so that I don't get hurt.
Right.
So the more flexible you are, the less you'll get hurt.
I don't know about flying off a motorcycle, but it certainly...
There's limits.
Yes, it certainly can, decrease risk of injury if the injury is caused by a lack of flexibility. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to make a blanket statement that says, it'll decrease injury risk across the board. That's not necessarily true. But if the injury risk comes from tightness or lack of range of motion at the joint, then it certainly would.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you were talking earlier about lack of activity and cardiovascular health. Again, I said I'm a poster child for that because I've almost had 2 heart attacks. I've got 3 stents, and I kind of blame that on inactivity and maybe diet too, and of course family history.
Yes.
But if you have people in your family that have died from heart attacks, you should take note. And another thing I think is for men, higher testosterone levels are another heart risk factor. And you can tell if you have higher testosterone levels with the lack of hair.
I didn't know that.
So I think if you have a lack of hair, you should make sure and be active because you're at a higher risk of heart attacks. So that's my theory.
I think it's really important for all people to know their risks, to know their numbers, cholesterol, blood pressure, to have an understanding of your family history, but also to understand that a lot of the, majority of the risk factors for heart disease are preventable, largely thought to be preventable. 2 of the most powerful things anyone can do to prevent the onset, specifically of heart disease, is to be more physically active and to improve their diet. It's also 2 of the most difficult things for people to adhere to over the course of a lifetime. But there's widespread evidence that would suggest that much of heart disease can be prevented.
All right, so if I want to, get more physically active, the physical activity you're talking about, I don't have to go out and run marathons, do I?
No, sir, no. Which again is why the term exercise, we often use words like physical activity and exercise interchangeably. Exercise is kind of a bad word like diet, right?
Yeah.
It has a bad connotation to it. But no, I think people have a misconception that exercise has to be marathon running. It really isn't.
Do I have to sweat a lot?
Not a lot, but a little would be good. And really what the recommendations are is just moderate intensity exercise, a minimum of 150 minutes a week. So that would be 30 minutes 5 days a week if you wanted to break it up like that.
Now what I do, I go out and walk with my dogs.
Sure, and
I
that
have
counts.
big dogs, so they don't walk slow.
Yes.
So we go for, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 days at least a week
Yeah.
for 30 to 40 minutes.
Yes, and the purpose behind the physical activity doesn't really matter. It still counts towards what the minimum recommendation is. So if it's walking your dogs, then that counts. If it's going for a bike ride or playing soccer with your kids, the goal is to just be active and get your heart rate up. So what we say is moderate intensity would be if you can talk but not sing. So as long as you can still talk, but maybe not sing a song, then you're in the right zone.
Okay. I don't go quite that fast. When I do, though, if I do go walking in the woods, in the woods, meaning there's hills.
Hills, right, and that's good too.
Going up and down hills and trying to chase those guys around. Sometimes it's a full body workout because they'll see a squirrel and I'm like,
yes, holding on to them. Yeah, walking your dog.
What else can we do to be more physically active? And a lot of times I get into the trap where I've worked all day. I have to go home, eat a meal, and I'm back to work. I've gotten called back here, so I've filled up at more than 12 hours worth of doing this.
Yes. Yeah,
So-
that's a common thing. I mean, people live busy lives. Work takes up a large part of everyone's life, and then children and elderly parents or other community commitments.
Yeah, especially with kids, and it's hard to concentrate on yourself too at that point.
Yes, it's difficult to find the time, and that's a really common, actually probably the number one reason why people report not participating in exercise. The best advice I have to offer is that it doesn't have to be all at one time. So 30 minutes a day doesn't have to be in one chunk. If you can find 10 minutes a day, 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes at lunch and 10 minutes in the afternoon, then you can break your exercise up and it still has the same benefit as if you were doing it all at one time. So I think that if everyone looked really hard in their day, you could find little 10-minute chunks here and there. Or just figuring out ways to infuse movement into your normal life. So if you take an elevator, then take the stairs, or park in a parking lot on the other side of campus.
Right.
Rather
I know
than the
people
one.
that do that.
Yeah. So it's really just about creating behaviors and maybe modifying your environment a little bit to be more active.
How about eating? What can we do to eat better? I know, popular fast food places aren't the thing, but they are offering better choices. But, me, it's those better choices aren't as satisfying or necessarily what I want, compared to the alternatives.
Yeah. Nutrition is difficult. And it's difficult because there's so much to understand about it, and there are so many choices. The best advice I could give anyone who's thinking about eating a little bit better is to get 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day.
Just like on some of those Weight Watchers things, the points that are counted for vegetables is 0, I think. So you can eat all that you want.
Well, you certainly can eat more of them. And I think not enough people are eating enough fruits and vegetables, so that's one best piece of advice.
Now, when you say fruits and vegetables, is that counting potatoes?
No, I wouldn't count a potato as a vegetable.
Because that's a starchy thing.
Yeah, that is a starchy thing. I don't want to say that. I wouldn't say cut them out, though. I'm a firm believer in everything in moderation.
Right, me too.
80-20 rule, so 80% of the time eat well, and then 20% of the time eat kind of whatever you want. And if you want to have a burger, have a burger. You just don't have to have the biggest, worst one that you can find.
Yeah.
So
with all the great things of cheese and the bacon and whatever else you can fit on it.
Right, and just making sure that we're watching our portions. A lot of people don't pay attention to portion size. So again, if you want to have ice cream, have ice cream. You just don't have to have the large bowl of ice cream. Have a smaller one.
Yeah, and I do think restaurants have pared back on some of their portion sizes at a lot of restaurants. The only thing I'm disappointed in is they didn't pare down the price.
Yeah, you're still
They cut
paying.
down the portion size, but they didn't do anything with the price. I can't remember where I was going. Let's see. Time. Okay, we got into the minimum recommended time of doing things. Any resources available to help people out?
Yeah, there's obviously a lot of tools out there available to people who are looking to become more physically active. So there are apps on your phone that you can get to track physical activity and calories. There are a lot of websites. The U.S. Department of Health, they have physical activity guidelines that they've published, and there's a lot of really useful information there, as well as the American Heart Association, American College of Sports Medicine. There's a website called Live Healthy Appalachia that has a little guidelines on how to begin to run a 5K, your first 5K, and it kind of takes you through how to train for that.
Now, I know with running and activity and all that, my doctor, after you've had a near heart attack or had one, you become very aware of people who have.
Yes.
So I heard, David Letterman, I think he was doing a 10-mile or some sort of a half marathon and had a heart attack. Now, he'd been training for this, and I'm like, okay, this guy is in decent shape. He's been running. Now, why does he have a heart attack? And I asked my doctor that, and she said that doing this physical activity doesn't necessarily make it so you won't have it, but it makes it so it is more survivable.
Absolutely. So it's not a cure-all, certainly. It can prevent a lot of it. Maybe it doesn't mean that you won't ever have a heart attack. I mean, that would be incredible if that's what it meant. But makes it survivable. Maybe, and rather than having the first heart attack at age 45, maybe you don't have it until 65. But it also, participating in physical activity and exercise just improves your overall functional capacity and quality of life. So the benefit of exercise far outweighs any risk that it would pose. You should have to have a doctor's prescription not to exercise, to be quite honest. But absolutely, it just makes you stronger overall.
And on my phone, I've got the health thing here, and I've got, I think the average daily is 5,000 some steps, I think. And I've got in almost 2,000 steps today. Is that bad?
Not bad. That's pretty good. I think most people would suggest 10,000 steps a day. That's kind of what American College of Sports Medicine, American Heart Association recommends, 10,000 steps a day, and it really takes an effort to get to 10,000 a day.
That's doubling almost what I've done.
Yes. So, 5,000 is a great goal, but it's really about just trying to do a little more each day. So if you know what your average, if you're averaging 5,000 a day, trying to hit 6,000, maybe the next time. But the recommendation is 10,000 steps a day.
Yeah. I guess the thing I'll have to do, because I have one other problem, being my dogs. One of them has arthritis. And so I can't push him that hard.
Yeah.
Some of the other dogs I can, but my older boy has arthritis, and I'd go for shorter amounts of time with him, because if I don't, he's limping around.
Yeah.
So
even low levels of physical activity pose a benefit. Any movement poses a benefit. So people should always avoid inactivity. That's the bad thing. We don't want to be inactive. So even if you can maybe you only get 10 minutes of a nice stroll in that day, then you should celebrate that 10 minutes.
How about, is there a balance between, say, like lifting weights and doing, upper body things other than just walking and running and doing it from the waist down?
Right. So they have provide separate benefits. Cardiovascular exercise or aerobic exercise, so walking, running, jogging, bike riding, they're the ones that have the most widespread cardiovascular benefit. So they're going to,
because of the pace, or because of the large muscles that you're
large muscle group, you're involving the heart, pumping more blood, breathing rate goes up. So that's the one that poses the greatest benefit for things like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and heart disease.
Because what I was thinking too was, if you're going to lift weights, lift a slightly lighter weight and do it without a lot of breaks, and keep a higher pace, and then switch to the next position, whether you're doing presses to overhead presses or curls, and don't stop in between, so that you keep up a pace.
That can help with burning more calories during the exercise, but really overall as a whole, muscular strengthening exercises like you were describing don't really provide much of a cardiovascular benefit. They are important though.
Sure.
They're important for maintaining just your muscle mass and functional health, strength, and they can be important for bone health as well.
And then the other thing that I think this can help with is stress.
Yes.
Everybody has stress in their lives, and doing physical activity, what is it, serotonin, or what's the stuff that gets released?
Yes, endorphins can help to reduce stress. Absolutely, physical activity can be a good stress reducer, and a time to not have to think about work.
Right.
You can just exercise and enjoy that moment.
Okay. Well, I think this has been a really good conversation. Is there anything else you wanted to leave people with?
Start low and go slow. If you don't use it, you lose it, right?
Right. That's my thing. Use it or lose it. Whatever it is, whatever you want to do, don't stop, or you will have to stop.
Yes.
Okay, well, thanks for joining us on today's Body Talk. Do we know who we have next week? Or, I mean, next month?
High school.
Oh, Tom High School, who is a psychologist and I think pet behavior person. So we'll be talking to him about pets and maybe people. We'll have to see how that comes around. But thanks again for watching, and stay fit and active.
You're good.
There you go, right here.
Very good.